Howdy Friars. Welcome to the demo day on October 29th for Foundry here. We just have a few demos to go through. One is a small feature on Smoke Signal, Permapost, that displays some data that was posted to the blockchain, I think even before Permapost was actually a thing. And we're going to show off the progress of the website and also go over what we've learned about the DETH contract and how to think about the ways that makes profit. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Chris to show off the website.
Alrighty. I just want to mention I'm going to demo between two links because everything isn't on the master branch because the one feature I want to show progress on isn't done yet. So yeah, that's why it's broken like this. So we have completed most of the homepage on the link as well. There's still a few elements missing here and there, and it's obviously broken like this, but we're making some good progress. So just a quick reminder, this does happen sometimes that people see the XD design link and then assume, you know, that's the website and it's ready to go. But the Adobe XD are just mockups that are clickable, that can show us exactly how everything is going to look and behave. And then we actually build that into the React framework with the Strapi backend so that you can change it. So on this branch, you can see there's nothing, just shows some stuff on the homepage, and that's why I wanted to show this one. But what we have completed thus far is we've completed the responsiveness of the site. So the website menu and everything has been coded, the footer has been coded, all the different buttons. Yeah, and then on desktop, we've completed what we call the product slider and navigation element. So it's this thing at the top that basically builds an array of all the products and then adds or removes them as you add or remove more from the Strapi backend. Because we wanted to build actual pages for each product and not just do the hash route, a lot of people stay on the page and using a hash, they use a different state for the element. But there's some problems with SEO on that, where Google doesn't always understand the different page of the product. So we try and focus quite a lot on the SEO optimization of the page as well to make sure that if somebody Googles, you know, Foundry Permapost, that Google knows exactly which page to serve. So if you notice the URL there at the top, you can see the URL bar, right? Okay. When I click on Permapost, you'll see that the URL actually changes to /product/permapost, so that Google knows everything on this page is about permapost. And so this, because we're switching to a whole different page, the React component was very difficult to build to actually keep the state and do the animation nicely. So as you can see, it's not optimal yet. It feels a bit jumpy at the moment, and we are aware of that. But what we want to do is not delay our progress by, you know, making this thing perfect. We want to launch with the site like this, and then quick after the launch, we already have some plans on how we can make this thing a bit less jumpy and more smooth. So then we'll immediately start working on that and deploy it soon after launching the site. So I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, all the product pages have been completed. So if you go to DieHard or Zimdie or anyone, they all have their content and their tech stacks. All the content has been captured on the back end. It can be changed. We still have to change the titles here, but this is also dynamically changeable from the backend. So it's a really very small thing to change and then just trigger another build. So yeah, overall, we're seeing some really good progress with the site. The two big remaining tasks are for the roadmap for sure. The roadmap's quite complex to build dynamically, so we still have that left. And then the homepage is not entirely done, so as I showed in the previous link. But those are the two big things. The rest of the stuff, such as the About Us page, FAQs, those pages aren't too difficult to build. We were also quite worried about this product switcher, which we have completed partially now, and at least works nicely, semi-nicely, and on mobile as well. I don't know, maybe some people might think it's perfect the way it is, but we have quite big standards, or high standards. So in my opinion, it still needs some work. Yeah, I would say overall, I think our deadline is next week, Friday. Currently, it does seem like we'll finish everything by then, and then hopefully be live with a new site Yeah, that's the updates on the site.
Cool. I'll just show quickly a small change that we made to Permapost. Hold on a second.
While you find that, we've also deployed all the governance contracts and made everything live on Matic. What we're waiting for now is actually, after doing that, we now put actual proposals and we have to wait for the actual time locks and periods to pass, which is currently 3 days. So we deployed that, I think, on Tuesday. So we were waiting for that to test the real governance. But yeah, in essence, the governance is now live on the live contracts. Once those tests pass, then we'll probably send some actual funds to the governance and hopefully start using it. Anything you want to add there, Logan?
Actually, yes. I realized today we need to deploy it one more time because I don't think the current version is pointed at the actual bridged Fry contract. I think it's still using fake Fry. So that's something we should probably try to have Elmer actually do today. So while we're waiting on the current version to get through to, so we can test everything, also have that new version deployed. But that's the only thing to change. It's just which Matic token contract it considers the real Fry.
Cool.
Yep. But yeah, okay. So then for this, the Permapost thing, in our community, someone shared, oh, sorry, let me just close Telegram. Someone shared this transaction. I'll just show you guys where this came from. They saw this on their Twitter feed. So if you go to Etherscan, oops, you'll find something like, it's essentially a breakup letter that someone wrote and put on Ethereum. I'm not sure the details as to how they did this. Maybe Skull could comment more on this, but the point is they wrote a little breakup letter here and put it on Ethereum. And we realized it was extremely easy to modify Permapost to actually pick that up. So if you go to that same transaction hash here, or you just go to this URL, it'll tell you that there's no smoke signal object found, but it looks like it's UTF-8, so here it is. And this was nice to do, a nice low-hanging fruit type thing, because, and what I'm kind of working on in the background now is to scan the blockchain for other, the Ethereum blockchain specifically, for other pieces of text like this, because there might be some interesting stuff on there. But yeah, the hope then is that there's something on the Ethereum blockchain that's worth talking about and sharing around, and then we can show off Permapost and use it as a sort of a specialized block explorer in a way. It's a block explorer for human text. Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to add there that it's very interesting. The way we generate those faces is actually quite complex. I mean, we look at the date of the wallets, we look at the month, we look at a whole bunch of things.
No, it's just the address to make the face.
Okay, but I was under the impression that the Elm component, I didn't build it, but the Elm component, the way I understood it, looked at quite a few different things in the address to generate the face.
Well, yeah, it's in the, so for example,
yes.
If I look at my address, it's 7C2. So my face, one of the colors would have 7C as a hexadecimal as the R
so,
color. Yeah, but it's just the address. It's not about the posting date or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff within the address. But what's very interesting here is that this message is obviously quite sad. And by chance, our Elm component generated a face that fits the message perfectly, which was random. I mean, we didn't decide that. It generates that thing based on the address. So that was just very interesting.
Yeah. I'm just curious who this guy is. Wonder if he's done anything else on Ether. Like wonder what kind of profile this guy has.
It'd be interesting to find him actually. Oh wow, now he's a baller, hey.
He's a baller.
She's gonna regret leaving him, hey.
Yeah.
Well, that address that ends in 8803, we don't know who you are, but if you want us to send us some of that Ethereum, we'll really appreciate it.
Yeah, we will. We help to give visibility to your to your last message. So please spread the love, brother. Yeah, I must have.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, basically just to comment on how they did that. Basically, the thing is on Ethereum, you can basically post a transaction, and then the transaction itself contains a thing called call data. And then the transaction that you, the address that you call actually then starts running a piece of code that, amongst other things, can read the call data, right? But you can just send a transaction to yourself or to nowhere. I will do like the 0x address and just include text.
Yeah.
So what we basically,
So here you can see 0x. So when you send Ether,
Yeah.
it's just, it has no input data essentially. And
Yeah.
and then if you send a contract call, the input data has to do with Escalca saying, you know, what you want to call and what arguments you're going to pass. So I don't know what tool he used exactly, but he basically used some tool to say, okay, well, here's my input data, and it's actually just text.
well, yeah, or yeah, let me not comment on yeah, on someone's ability to program and their inability to do certain other things that sometimes, you know, inversely correlates, unfortunately. But yeah, you could do this programmatically. Yeah, you'd have to do it programmatically. You just basically like take some text, convert it to bytes, and then add it to the call data of a transaction that you sent through. It's a couple of tools that one might do to use that. But for future reference, if anybody wants to post something permanently to the Ethereum blockchain, please just use permapost.io as is. You know, and then app.permapost.io. And
Well,
then,
either way.
yeah, you can actually like
will
format
tell you
it.
more about it. But yeah.
Yeah. I was demoing Permapost and Smoke Signal to someone over the weekend. And this person was quite a DeFi skeptic. It's quite a high, he happens to be quite a high profile economist, and he was quite a DeFi skeptic, saying all manner of things about, you know, people don't know where the, you know, the interest rates and those things originate and so forth. And when I actually showed him Permapost, and I you know, I could see I sort of like shook him when I said, gee, you know, we're posting this to Ethereum and to the XDAI blockchain, and XDAI is so cheap that we actually set up a faucet that tips, you know, that literally gives people micro tips to post, and we've forgotten about it. And I could see he was like, whoa, are you telling me like this thing is actually scaling? So so yeah, so it's pretty cool. And I must say though, I'm really looking forward to some future point where we can really extend the capabilities of Smoke Signal and Permapost, you know, to do some very interesting stuff.
Definitely, that's very exciting.
Okay.
There's one other thing I want to share while this mines, not entirely related to Permapost, but it's a post that I put on the Foundry Telegram this morning about a video from Digital Asset News. He does a video on DeFi stuff every day, you know, what's going on in the market, blah, blah, blah. And today he spoke about, or last evening, which was our morning, he spoke about, you know, the whole Facebook name change, etc., and the stuff they're doing there. And then in the last part of the video, he interviewed a guy that builds a platform called Token. What's it called? I have it on my list to check it out. So let me just quickly see.
Oh, this is weird. A bit of a visual bug here. I wonder.
Token Metrics. And Token Metrics is a AI-based platform, a lot like the Nansen one, which tries to tell you when to buy and sell stuff. And so he was asking this guy, you know, what's the next big thing in DeFi apart from NFTs? And the guy said, well, it's DAOs. So yeah, just very interesting that Foundry is a DAO, and you know, there's people that think it's going to be the next big thing, and we should start thinking of ways in which we can make the DAO run after the sale. So what some DAOs do is they actually mint 100 NFTs, and in order to be part of the community, you have to buy one of that 100 NFTs, and then people end up buying the NFTs in groups, and you know, you have to buy the NFT to join the community. So those are a few interesting ways in which DAOs these days fund themselves and become exclusive. So I just shared that on the community to you know, share that with everyone, and also potentially after our sale ends, what do we do to further fund Foundry? Yeah, so I just wanted to share that. Logan, I have a quick suggestion. Your UPS is beeping and might tank
Yeah.
anytime now, which means we'll lose the entire
Okay.
recording.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
that's true.
Oh, yeah, stop the recording, start the recording. Let me demo the next part, basically.
Well,
Yes,
it'll be,
so
it'll
we'll
beep
stop-
faster, but just before it dies. So yeah, but let's move on to Skulk's demo.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. So basically, Logan had some concerns, some legitimate concerns about the just the price performance of the excess collateral inside of these. Right. So essentially, I wrote a back tester just to see how these really performs under under more real world circumstances. Right. So I'm just going to do I have okay, cool. So I have screen sharing rights. Let me share screen here. All right. So so I wrote a .NET interactive notebook that actually like simulates what the calculator currently tells us the price performance will be versus what the actual price performance will be, right? So so what you're looking at here basically is the orange line is the predicted amount of excess collateral. If we assume, you know, we start with 100 ether inside of ETH, you know, how much
So
ether do we have by? Mhm.
So the predicted would be the squared ether gains, right?
Yeah, so
Essentially,
so
okay.
that's the squared ether gains, right? So there was an assumption problem we made with the square ether gains, and that's that only like the price difference from the beginning to the end would be squared, and basically from moment to moment the momentum in either direction is squared. Now we're a little bit pressed for time in terms of your UPS. I'm not going to go into details for that, but the blue line here is closer to the actual performance. Right. So if you guys want to go check out our GitHub, the thing is basically under Crypto Rank. There's a project called Crypto Rank, and then you can run the ETH simulator if you're into that kind of thing. But okay,
And
so
if I
the
can-
blue line.
Sorry, yeah, maybe you're going to get there, but
Okay, can I maybe
yeah.
let me just run over everything, and then I think you guys can ask me questions. All right. So the orange line is basically the idealized performance as our calculator currently puts it out there, and then the blue line is our is closer to our real performance, right? So assuming we start at 100 ether, we see there's some sort of a drawdown there because the so this just starts at like the 30th of June. Or 1 July. So we see that there's a little bit of a drawdown. And we basically see that the orange line is above the blue line, right? So that's the first thing to keep in mind.
And sorry, I do want to say one quick thing. So this is collateral in ETH. So just in case someone's not familiar with the whole ETH project, what we're graphing here crucially is, so if you put in, let's say at 1st of July in the beginning of the graph, and then somewhere in the middle of the graph, you would actually be able to take out more ETH than you put in.
Yes.
If the blue line is above where it was when you put it.
Exactly. So the blue line is basically like how much profit did you make, right? So we're just assuming 100 ETH in the whole, in ETH. So this is the ETH profit, not the dollar profit, right? So, all right. So the blue line is just how much ether can you pull out? Like we started with 100 at that peak there, we could pull out 151. And it turns out that I won't say who, but somebody did point out that they put in money on the 3rd of September and the price is now back where it was on the 3rd of September. It's actually now higher. But we see here, we have a collateral drawdown from that point to that point. So the second part of the graph at the bottom here is the green line is our price drawdown. So in other words, if we like for the orange line, the green one is basically from the previous high in collateral to where we are now, how far did we draw down? So we'll see that every time it sort of like peaks, it sets a new high and then it works out this drawdown based on the previous high. So we see from the previous high there, we saw a drawdown of about 28%. And then we actually started doing quite well, kept hitting the thing there at the top. And then there we saw some sort of a peak. And then we'll see actually that the red line, which is the actual drawdown, basically is below that green line. So below what we were predicting initially, right? And we'll see there that it's still drawn down, meaning that it didn't actually recover from that peak. Right. So the reason for that is essentially that the we are in a leveraged position, and in drawdowns, especially the sharper the drawdown is, basically like it starts paying off a lot of the debt very, very quickly, which then sort of like makes it harder for it to recover post that point. Okay, so what we're going to do with this thing basically, so there's a couple of implications here. The first implication is we need to change the calculator on app.leverly, right? Because it's not accurately presenting it's not accurately presenting how the thing will behave. Right, that's the first thing. The second implication is basically it is possible to be drawn down from one of the same price points to another same price point. So in other words, if it goes from 1,000 to 2,000, goes down somewhere and comes back up to 2,000, it's possible to be drawn down from the previous 2,000 point. Right. So in other words, it might be lower than at a previous similar price, depending on the journey that it took between those 2 points. Right, that's the second implication. All right, and then the third, okay, so the third implication of this is that we're going to use this tool to optimize the DETH position. Right, so I need to actually optimize the speed at which this thing runs so that we can run a bunch of simulations against it quicker. But we're going to change the parameters to DETH to actually like try and have it run optimally over the last period. I just want to show you guys one other quick thing. What we're seeing here does line up with, we use DeFi Saver to automate DETH specifically, and this does kind of like line up with them as well. So if we look here, we see that in May, we had a massive like run up followed by a similar sort of a run down, right? So the momentum of this position is basically squared, right? So yeah, so the implications of this is just essentially like, specifically for these kinds of products, what you want to do is you want to buy on drawdowns. You want to buy basically when there's sort of like a proper tank down. Now, me and Logan have been discussing it. We haven't finalized any plan yet, but that we're going to try and query this information out of the blockchain and actually give a, you know, an exact representation of how DETH performed like over the last period of time, and then somehow map that over the price system as well. But the critical thing just to keep in mind here is that you know, once it like picks up speed, it picks up a heck of a lot of speed. But in a severe drawdown, like it actually like reverses that momentum as well. But as you can see here, like this is over a considerable period of time. This is like from January to pretty much today. That still essentially has a excess collateral. Okay, so they show the whole collateral here. Just in their demo, I'm put in 100 collateral here, but this still basically has this excess collateral to the tune of about 260% over where we would have started in the position at the beginning of the year. Right, so those are just nuances that we're going to have to find simple ways to communicate more properly to everyone.
And just to make the connection here, so when you're showing this DeFi Explorer here, DETH is in a very real way a tokenized version of this page, right?
Yes, yeah, it is a tokenized version of what's going on here.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, sweet. Well, maybe that's it for the demo day. I think that's a nice, concise window of where we're at. Yeah.
Just one mention is when we're building this stuff, I know, Skulk, you probably wrote it in a language now that you are proficient with, you know, the .NET thing. But if we do consider going further, maybe choose a language that we can actually use in the DETH or Leverly dashboard, because we do have plans. We have it on the design to actually make a graph that shows you where to buy and sell, and then we can use this for that as well.
Yeah, so actually, let me speak to that. And actually, there's something else I wanted to talk about in the demo day as well. What Skulk's working on is more about internal testing and kind of figuring out the right parameters to change DETH with. And then I'm now in parallel starting to try to get some actual stats, because Skulk's thing is actually still a simulation. It should be an accurate simulation, but it's not actually going and querying where the DETH price went. So that's where I'm looking, and that'll get the data from when we had DETH till today. And then we'll use that data to actually as the source of the graph. So so Skulk's thing is sort of not meant for, let's say, public consumption anyway.
Okay.
And then that just reminds me, I just want to give the community a bit of an update as to how this sort of realization about the DETH prices changes things. The DETH product is still a promising product because, as I just said, it basically tokenizes a leveraged CDP, which is a strategic thing to hold at certain times. But what's inaccurate, we've realized, is the simple squared ETH gains, let's say, tagline that we had. And the way that that sort of impacts us in our sort of our roadmap here is that we now need to rewrite a lot of our marketing stuff. So that we had a PR article ready that needs to be rewritten. My Medium post that I talked about where Deeth, the hyperhold strategy with Deeth and how that all works. The conclusion might still be true, but I have to like think through that whole thing and rewrite that article. And then as well, the app, as you just mentioned, Chris, the calculator on the app is inaccurate. We need to, I think we should actually just jump from that calculator to the graph and somehow make the graph interactive or, well, I'm not sure, but I guess that's the point is that we really need to rethink that. So whereas before the plan was once the site is done, we'll be able to market Deeth immediately. Now, unfortunately, that's not true. Now when the site's done, we'll have to sort of redo some of that marketing before being able to actually market Deeth. So that's the bummer. I mean, it could be worse. Deeth is still a valuable product. We just need to now sort of reapproach the problem of how to market it and how to even think about, how to communicate that. Oh, that's my UPS freaking out. I'm gonna end the
Okay,
recording
cool.
here unless there's any other closing thoughts.
Okay, no, cheers.
Okay, cheers everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Right.